This episode is raw. At 19 weeks, Britt gave birth to her stillborn baby, and within hours, her own life was on the line. 4 days in ICU, a body in shutdown, and grief no one prepares you for. This is a conversation about loss, survival, and the strength it takes just to keep breathing. We're sharing this story because sometimes the stories that hurt the most are the ones that help someone else feel just a little less alone. Before we dive into today's episode, have you grabbed your free copy of the Female Body Awareness Kit yet? If not, girl, you are missing out. This isn't your average PDF download. We are talking juicy checklists, hormone-friendly hacks, and real-life routines to help you feel in sync with your body. Whether you're navigating PCOS, endo, or just not quite feeling like yourself, think of it as a survival guide we wish we had years ago. And yup, it's totally free. Just head to our website or tap the link in the show notes to snag yours now. We hope you are having a beautiful day. I think we're just going to get straight into this episode, Britt.
Okay.
Because I think it's really important. It's a bit of a shift of energy from our last few episodes. So for those of you who don't know, Britt actually had a really tough season that she is currently in. And she is wanting to, I guess, share the experience with everyone for multiple reasons.
You're already making me cry.
Yeah, just a disclaimer, it's going to be very emotional, this one. But I guess I'm going to pass it over to you, B, just to tell us a little bit about what you've been through the last couple of months.
Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose, like, when we talked about doing this episode, first and foremost, I think it's good for, because I've mentioned a little bit of it, like, throughout a few episodes now. I think it's good to kind of put it out there and make awareness about it. And I think it's also good for other people to be able to open up, and that's why I'm doing it. It's not because I actually want to sit here and talk about myself.
No.
And I think having Amy to speak to about it is fitting. So I don't think I could just go and sit in a group full of people as of yet and have a conversation. It's because I feel comfortable with Amy. So that's why I'm more open to have this chat. And I know hopefully it will benefit somebody who may be struggling out there as well. So I suppose, what do you want to know from start to finish, or?
Yeah, I think just, I guess, a bit about what's actually happened, because I think, like you mentioned, we've made a few mentions of Millie and losing a baby, but I guess a brief synopsis of what's happened in your tough season over the last couple of months.
Yeah. Just give me a minute.
No, it's okay. I think, Britt, the fact that you're coming on here and you're having this conversation is phenomenal. And I think what you mentioned before, you said to me right at the start that you want to do something so it brings more awareness and provides more support to people. And I think that should well and truly be noted, because this is, like, it's tough and you're still riding it, and you're going to be riding it for a very long time. So this is very, very fresh, people. Very, very fresh. We're talking talking February this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think to start off with, I feel like I now that I look back, I probably knew something was kind of happening. And I was actually out. I'll start from the beginning when I kind of knew. So I felt pregnant. It was through IVF, so it wasn't like an easy journey as it is.
And was it your first? Was it your first try at IVF?
So obviously I've had Billy, so no, like, it wasn't my first IVF experience, but it was my first. It was my second transfer that I had, and it was successful straight away. So I'm lucky in that sense. Like, I've been able to fall pregnant twice easily during IVF, and I know it's hard for other women out there that have actually gone through IVF and they struggle every single time they have to do a transfer. So yeah, like I definitely understand. Well, I don't understand the pain of that, but like I can appreciate that would be really upsetting not to be able to get pregnant straight away. But yes, it was my second transfer with Mill, and I became pregnant straight away. Everything seemed to be going really, really well.
You're moving your body, you're looking after yourself.
Yeah, I was making sure like I was doing all my back exercises because like my back went with Billy because I carried like kind of under my ribs, so I didn't really pop out a lot. And the same.
As in when you were carrying him.
Yeah, when I was carrying him. So I got a bad back from that. And then when I carried Millie, it was similar. So I popped out at the start because all of like the organs and stuff pushed out, and then it kind of went back in. And I carried similar because I remember everyone saying, "Oh, you don't look too pregnant. You don't look like 5 months pregnant." But yeah, so I was working on myself. So I was seeing my chiropractor, going to a coach, eating healthy.
Do you feel as though, Britt, you were doing more of that with Mill than you were with Billy?
No, I would probably exercise more with Billy because I had more time.
Yeah.
With Billy, with Millie, I know everyone, it's Billy and Millie. To be honest, her name was never going to be Millie, but I always wanted Millie. And then obviously when we weren't going to be yelling it at the park, we thought, well, let's go Millie. So with Millie, I didn't have as much time because I had to pick up Billy. So I kind of selected my days on when I could and couldn't go. And obviously I had to work as well. So we went, I was actually out with one of my account managers on a road day, and he probably, I don't know if he'll be able to listen to this podcast, but I was out with him and he was doing really, really well. So we decided we'll go and get a coffee. And we went to a bakery in Bayswater, and for some reason I felt this little gush of water. And instead of saying that to him, I just said, "Oh, I got a bit of a pain." And then he was like, "Oh, isn't that normal during pregnancy?" I'm like, yeah. And I thought I'll just brush it off. And then we went and had our coffee, and then I got in the car and I'm like, it doesn't seem right. And then I'm not one to go and call my manager and be like, "Hey, I need to work from home." But that's exactly what I did. I was like, I need to work from home the next couple of days because I just have this feeling in me I need to like rest, which I did. And everything was fine. And I called my obstetrician. He wasn't there at that time because he was having surgery. So they told me to wear a pad and just monitor
who's
the
they? Are we
water.
who are we talking? They, Britt?
So like they have like the receptionist called me back.
Yeah.
And said she'll check into it, and spoke to one of the other obstetricians. So every time, generally, when you go and see an obstetrician, there's a group of them that will rotate if one of them's off.
Right,
so
okay.
The other one will step in. And that's what they told me to do. So they told me to just pop a pad on and monitor it. And at this point, I'm like, it feels fine the last 2 days. And then I went to your 30th, which I was fine. I felt fine. I felt very dehydrated, but it was a hot day.
It was hot. I think it was like 40 degrees.
It was 40 degrees, yeah. And then we came back, obviously I came back and I had a bit of pain that night, just thinking it was normal. And then from there, I was playing with Billy in the lounge room and my water broke on the floor. And I thought, this can't be good. And then Brent's like, you better call the hospital. So I did. And then I went in and I said, Brent, you just take Billy to swimming lessons because I'll be fine. I'll be all good because I never like to probably make things about myself. And I brush things under the rug. So I called my sister on the way and she was like, is Brent going with you? She's like, Brittany, this is serious. Like, you can't just brush it under the rug. I'm coming. So she was heading straight down as well. So I went in there and I had to take my underwear, my pants, everything so that they could actually check it and swab and do all the testing. And they just came into me and they said, we think it's definitely the water. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And they're like, well, there's maybe a few options, but it depends. We'll just have to wait for the obstetrician. So I waited for the obstetrician and that was like 5 hours later. because no one was available. So I already knew in my gut like it wasn't good. And then they then told me I had to check in for the night, or what's it called, be admitted. And
Yeah.
I stayed all night because they wanted to give me antibiotics because my inflammation markers were slightly high. So they did that, and then Peter came in the morning, which is my obstetrician, and told me the options.
Yeah.
Neither of them were good. So I then had to check into another hospital, and at that moment he's like, do you want to stay here the night or go to the other hospital? And I was like, no, I want to see Billy before I have to do anything, because I already felt sick as it is. Like, I was beside myself.
And just for those at home, the reason as to why Britt had to move hospitals was based off the fact that
my snot on my top.
was based off the fact that the hospital that she was meant to give birth to was a Catholic hospital, and they could not do that procedure at that particular hospital because of the procedure that needed to be done. So you went home, and then obviously were admitted into the hospital where they had the procedure. So Britt, like, how many weeks were you when you had to give birth to Mill?
19 weeks and 5 days.
19 weeks and 5 days. So at that point, the baby has developed quite rapidly, would you say?
The baby's developed, but like the one thing that they haven't developed to the point where the baby would be able to, I suppose, survive would be the lung area. So the lungs hadn't matured as much as what they need to. And to give people an idea, so there was nothing wrong with Millie. So
No.
it wasn't the fact that she wasn't healthy. She was a perfect, healthy baby, and up until the point she was healthy. So I came home, and again, I still didn't understand or comprehend a lot of it. All I got told, well, all I could hear at the time was the two options are Millie's going to pass away anyway because there's no fluid left in there. And if we wait any longer, you're going to get really, really unwell. So that's why we made the decision of termination, because no matter what, it wasn't going to be a good outcome.
No, either
which
way.
was hard to make as a mum, you know. So then we went home, and I thought I was all good. I had a Valium because I was stressing. My heart was racing, and I said to Brent, this is strong, it's killing me. And then my fevers started. So I got to like 41, 42, and I had to go into hospital. And to be honest, I couldn't comprehend a lot because I was so unwell. My whole body was shivering.
Sorry, B. Just so like, but again, for those who are like listening, during this time, Millie was
alive.
Fine.
Yeah.
It was Britt who previously had said a fair few hours ago, no, I'm fine, I'm all good, brush it under the rug, put your mum mask on, think of other people like you always do, and you rapidly declined hours after leaving that hospital. You were having fevers. What else happened?
So then when I went in there, I was vomiting. I just couldn't, my vision was blurry. I just remember that. I just remember, and my head felt so painful. I just remember saying, please get me better before I have to give birth. And they said, unfortunately, to get better, we've got to get Millie out because we need to get the placenta out. Because at that point, they had done tests, and the test came back that I had sepsis. So the only way to kind of eliminate that was to give birth to Millie.
So can you give people an idea of what sepsis actually is?
To be honest, I think, like, from my understanding, because I haven't Googled a lot because I haven't wanted to. The reason why is I haven't wanted to put like preconceived ideas in my head about how I'm going to feel afterwards, or be scared. Because if I do that, like I'm a person that's a control freak, and unfortunately this is something I haven't been able to control. But for me, I had an infection in my uterus, which then broke the membrane of where the baby was in, and then that's why there was no water left, and that's why she couldn't be protected. From there, the infection went into my blood, and from my understanding is where I developed sepsis. My inflammation markers were over 500. Normally it takes a few days for that to grow when they take those tests, and it took me a while. It took a couple of hours, like 12 hours or something, for mine to grow. So they knew by the time they needed to know, they knew exactly what antibiotic to give me. Because at one point they were giving me like 3 to 4 different antibiotics. And then during labour, which took a long time, we went in at 11 and Millie was born at 7 a.m. So it wasn't, something past 7. It wasn't a quick labour. I had to really push, because at this stage Millie had passed away. So by the time I got into hospital, Millie had passed away, which I know this sounds horrible, but I found that easier, the fact that she wasn't going to come out alive. It's been harder for me to see her get terminated. I don't know how that would have gone, like how they would have done it, but that would have been harder for me to kind of comprehend at the time.
So again, and I completely understand, like completely agree with you, and not going down that rabbit hole, and which we'll talk about later, but just for everyone to know, sepsis is a very life-threatening condition. If you've never heard of it before, it is very, very serious. So Britt's had to give birth, which is horrific in itself, and then on the other side having to go under, well I guess I don't know what exactly the step, like where you went after giving birth, like where to from there.
So I had to get the placenta out, otherwise they were going to put me under, but I knew, I had this feeling, if I go under, I won't come back. That's how I felt. So
even when you were like, there was so much going on, and
so then
that's what
I
you
just
got
pushed my hardest to get that placenta out, and we got it out. And then I went back, laid on the bed, and then Mum and everyone decided to go. And I had everyone in the room because Brent was scared. So everyone was in there, which was really good. And then Paris, Brent's sister, was still there. Brent went to get a coffee, and I felt like this tightness on my chest, like this heaviness, like someone was sitting on it. And then all of a sudden I needed to go to the toilet, number 2s. And I tried to get up, but I collapsed, and then it was just coming out. So then ICU got called again, and just for a bit of, like, just to give a bit of context on that, there was like 7 Met calls, I think, through the whole process. So at that point, they rushed me to ICU because my blood pressure had dropped to like, I think it was like 40 or 50 something, and everything else was just coming out. So it had gone, by the time I got into ICU by that night, they had told me I had sepsis, because it went from sepsis to, there's sepsis severe, I think, and then there's sepsis shock. And they were telling me all this while I was not really comprehending a lot. It had gone to sepsis shock. So I couldn't walk or do anything. Like, I couldn't really move at all. And yeah, it was pretty scary. And I remember saying, as they were wheeling me in, please don't let me die, because I have a boy at home that I need to go home to.
So you've got like the situation with Mill, which is horrific in itself. And then you've got this situation where as soon as you've given birth, you're wheeled straight into ICU, where you're fighting a condition that could cause death, essentially. How long were you in ICU for?
4 days. I can't even paint a picture of what I looked like either. Like, I had that many like bruises all down my arms and everything, because they needed to take so many bloods and put so many, I don't know the exact word, your sister would know. little thingamajigs that they pop into you. Because I was on so much medication.
Like when I saw you, right, you are like, and you do not give yourself enough credit of how strong you actually are. Because like when I saw you, okay, yes, you had gone through a lot. You nearly died, but we were still laughing.
Yeah.
Nothing, like that energy hadn't changed. So like, how do you go? Like how do you process going from ICU to then be put up into that ward where you're in a corridor where there's, I don't know what's it called, the maternity
suite.
ward? Is it the maternity ward? Is that what it's called?
It's a birthing suite, not the
Birthing
maternity
suite.
ward. Yeah.
Like how do you process that?
At that point, I was just thinking like I need to get better so I could get home because it was giving me anxiety being in that room. There was no light. Like when people came in, it was good to see people so I could kind of interact. That was my moment of just a little bit of interaction and not really
Normality.
thinking of being in hospital. And I can't remember if I could walk when you came in, or maybe I just
I think you just were able to.
Yeah. So I remember it being the few days before, because I couldn't sleep properly. Like I was really tired. Food wasn't digesting properly because I was kind of laying down a lot. So I was getting a lot of heartburn at the same time. The anxiety was there. I was having a lot of flashes of the whole scenario throughout the night. Had a bit of trauma from my blood pressure dropping, so I constantly got the nurses to hook me up throughout the night to make sure I was still okay. And they just did that for peace of mind. They already knew it was better at that point. So they were wonderful. Like, the midwives do not get enough credit. And then I said to Peter, like my obstetrician, because he came and saw me every single day. He was just, I think, just worried, I would say. So he was really worried about the situation I was in. And he wanted to make sure I was getting the best possible help that I could. And I said to him, like, day before I left, I'm like, I need to get out of here. Like, I can't do this because I need to be with my family and I need to see my son. Because I couldn't have Billy come to the hospital when I was hooked up to so many wires. He would have got emotional and I would have been stressing out that something was going to pull out. So he was like, let's do a blood transfusions, because if we do blood transfusions, you're going to get better quicker. So we did no. So I said no to start off with. And the reason why I said no was I was so scared something else was going to happen. Because I was like, I'm getting all this bad luck if I say yes to this, because I had to sign for it. So everything I had to sign for was making me nervous. And the fact I had to sign for the blood transfusions, it
makes you question, doesn't it?
Me. Yeah, it just scared me. And I was like, so then I remember speaking to yourself, and you called your sister and your friend, and then I spoke to my auntie Deborah, I spoke to Tennille, I spoke to Paris, I spoke to all of them, and they're like, only going to help you. Heaps of people get blood transfusions. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. So I called back Peter and I'm like, I'll do it. Let's do this. So they came in within half an hour and gave it to me. It didn't work for a little bit. They got another one. Then eventually I could walk, but it was like walking on, you know, when a kid's doing swimming lessons and they're walking on those mats and it's kind of wobbly, that's how it was. But I was happy. I was able to at least get up. So that was good.
I guess when we fast forward to when you got home, you've got a 3-year-old who is a burst of energy. You've got a husband who has to not only process losing Millie, but also process the chance that he was going to lose you as well.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're just Brittany and yourself, where you run around like a headless chook and do everything and put everyone else first before you. I guess there's two things I want to unpack here. First, like the physical part. Like what What was the recovery like from a physical perspective? Because your body went through a hell of a lot. So what's the journey been like from a physical perspective?
Yeah, so when I got home, I still could hardly, like, I just walked, so I still could hardly do a lot. But he said to me, make sure you move. So I did, but I probably took it to the next extreme.
And give us an example of that next extreme.
Like cleaning, washing, clean bathrooms.
And I'm not talking about cleaning bench tops, skirting boards, like getting on your knees.
Yeah, yeah. And to be honest, I haven't cleaned them since. So I think that was just a point of like anger, I don't know, or frustration. But every morning it took me a few hours to get out of bed. It wasn't like a quick thing. I had to take medication for inflammation in my neck. My body, my bones were killing me. Also fog, brain fog. I still get it now, a lot of fog. My energy was really low. All my, I suppose, like, my iron levels were down, my liver count was up, everything just was out. So nothing was like where it should be. So I had to constantly go for tests and stuff like that to do checkups and see if I needed to do anything else or get other medication, which I was then prescribed to then take. But yeah, it was very frustrating for myself, that's for sure, because I feel like I couldn't even grieve properly.
I mean, like you said, you couldn't walk properly, and also, I mean, you've got a 3-year-old who wants you all the time and everywhere. What have been a few things that you've done to help the physical side? You know where I'm going with this.
So I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I remember I was frustrated at some point and I was like, I need to get these toxins out of my body. So I Googled what to do, Dr. Google, and I did a colonic, and I did a few of them. And straight after I had my first colonic, I went for a 6K walk. Like, I ended up getting so much energy, I could do stuff. Like, it was crazy. My vision come back a little bit. I still get that, like, brain fog every now and then. But yeah, it was... Honestly, like, I would, if I could afford it, I would probably do it quite often. I wouldn't do it if I didn't have what I have. But yeah.
And are you like popping a fair amount, like more pills and stuff now, like supplements, or to kind of drive those
so
minerals
I was
up?
taking vitamins and what's it called? Probiotic. I was taking, you recommended me a green drink, so I was taking that, which I still take, and then magnesium as well. I am taking it. So yeah, up until like recently, I haven't been able to go to the gym, but now like I can. So that's been really good as well. Like now I can feel my body move. However, like 2 weeks ago, I was still getting bruises all over my body. So and that's, the doctors said, and could be wrong, I don't know, but like they said that was just everything regulating, because I had it all over my thighs, my legs, my bum, everywhere.
So transitioning, I guess, into, you had to deal with a lot of physical changes, your body getting back to some sort of normal, and that's taken months and it's still going on. How did you have the patience to do that? Because it is, for someone like yourself, where you were moving your body and then just to walk was an effort. Like, how have you been able, or what got you through that?
I would say Brent definitely stepped up. Like, the support he gave me was really, really good. And Billy, like, I think just his energy really helped. And just that supporting network that I had, that helped as well. So whenever I felt shit, I had at least somebody to speak to. Yeah, I would say that was how it got me through. I mean, there was still shit times, like, and there still is. So, like, one of the worst days I had was picking up Millie from the cremation centre. And when I walked in, as I was walking out, like, I was shaking, and I remember, like, thinking, I didn't even hear my baby breathe or feel, like, any movement, like, as in once the baby came out, or just see anything, right? So I didn't get that side of that connection, and it was still heartbreaking. And it just made me think, what about all those mums and stuff out there that have lost actual babies or kids? And it was just making me more overwhelmed. And then when I got called for my name to come in and collect the ashes, I remember I just started crying, and the lady was like, then she starts crying. She's like, I'm human too. And then she starts pouring her eyes out. And she's like, do you know what you're doing with those ashes yet? And I was like, no, I don't. And she's like, don't rush. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Like, this is your decision. You take your time. And I don't mean just with Millie's ashes, with everything. And it was like a little message. It was weird. At the time, she was like, you do you at your own pace. And it just made me feel like I was doing everything the way it was supposed to be under the circumstances, if that makes sense. And I knew I had to put Billy first, and that was my strength to keep going, and still is.
What has been the hardest thing?
Oh, I would say, like, and this is not just for me, right? So, like, whenever someone struggling or even someone trying to get pregnant finds out they're pregnant, and whether you lose your baby at 6 weeks, whether you lose your baby at 3 months, whether you lose your baby at full term, you've lost a dream. So, like, I was dreaming Billy was going to have a sister. Like, I was dreaming all that stuff. So I think it was just hard to lose that. And now it's never going to happen. Well, with Millie anyway. So I think that's the hardest part. And that's, no matter what, as someone that's pregnant, they've lost that. So I don't think, like, any stage of a miscarriage or a stillbirth or whatever has happened should not be validated, because they've lost something, and most importantly, they've lost the dream of having the child that they were thinking they were going to get.
What would you say to someone who's going through this? Like, what is something that you've used to really drum up the strength that has helped assist you to keep going every day?
I couldn't be selfish, I would say. Like, I couldn't, and I know that sounds silly, but I couldn't just sit there in a room, watch TV all day, and be depressed. I had to think, okay, I have a family, so I have to take steps in order to move forward. Not forget, but move forward. And one of those steps is finding something to do, finding something to distract yourself when you can. Also seeing someone. So, like, I don't like seeing anyone, to be honest. I don't really like talking about myself. Anyone that knows me, and I know people will probably laugh when I say that, I hate talking about myself. So going to see someone hasn't been easy, but it has been beneficial. Because even if I just want to sit there and cry with her, I can. Like, it's just my time to actually let everything out. And I think another thing I would say is, don't avoid talking about your story, because every story is different. My story is different to somebody else, and everyone's going to deal with it differently, and you will never forget what's happened, but you will be able to, like, enjoy the little moments. It makes you appreciate everything else that, you know, all the other little moments you have with your family. So make sure you tell your story, you speak about it. Don't let somebody else tell your story for you. And that's why I made that post about Millie and what happened, because I didn't want people out there telling my story, and I didn't want people that were scared to ask about it to not know what happened. And to be honest, there's been amazing people reach out who have actually been in the same position that I had no idea about. And that just made me feel like I wasn't alone. Yeah, I would say tell your story, see someone, talk to someone, and then use your support network and around you to actually lean on them. So when you're not feeling good, tell them.
Like the individual who was at my birthday to the individual now.
What would you tell that one person? Is that what you're going to ask me?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. That, and also, what's the biggest thing that you've learned throughout this real tough season?
Yeah, I would say they're probably similar kind of questions. So, like, I would say just appreciate the little moments while you're pregnant. Like, actually enjoy every single moment. Because I was one of those people that were just like, no, it's fine. No, I don't need a rest. No, I don't need to do this. Like, I just kept going. Even my mum at one point, when I was picking up Billy, she's like, don't pick him up, you're pregnant. And I'm like, Mum, it's fine. Like, you're being ridiculous. And to be honest, she probably was being ridiculous. But, like, I'd probably just be a bit more careful with the things I was doing. And that's more going to be my mental state going forward, if I ever do decide to go down that rabbit hole again. But I'm nowhere near. If anyone's out there that actually is in a similar boat or has been in a similar boat and you want to talk, like, I'm here, or speak to your loved ones, speak to your supportive network. If you need more help, go and get more help. It's not an easy situation to be in, and it's not something you're going to forget, but we've just got to obviously learn what to do to make it an easier process to move forward.
And I think, like what you said, Britt, is that, like, no one going through this should ever feel alone. You know, I think it is so important that, you know, you reach out, you have conversations, and this is why obviously you're doing this. And ensure that network is really glued, because it's something that, like, no one can understand. I think seeing you personally and being heavily involved in your life over, you know, the last couple of years, but especially this season, I just want to say you should be so proud of yourself. You don't give yourself enough credit for that, because, again, you just get on with things, and what you have gone through physically and mentally is just something that is so, like, I can't even put words into my mouth, you know. And I think for you to come out and share this story and help other females share their story and ensure that they're not alone, and making action to better improve yourself, be it through something so crap like this, kudos to you.
Thank you. Thanks, James.
Anyway, on a lighter note, thank you everyone. Please share this to anyone who has gone through this situation. Go get the support, and yeah, don't go alone.
Before you head out, don't forget to download the Body Awareness Kit. It's free and filled with tools and support we know so many of us need. From hormone balancing to daily wellness routines to real advocacy tips for PCOS and endo. You deserve to be informed and empowered. Get your copy now at the landing page or tap in the link in the show notes.